Going into Super Bowl Sunday, CJ, I, as an Eagles fan since Thursday, so it wasn't deep within my core, was probably most excited for the halftime show and to see what Kendrick Lamar was going to come out with at the Super Bowl halftime show. And I was so happy with what I saw. Now, I want to preface this. If you don't want subtext in your Super Bowl halftime show, if you don't want to have to think for your Super Bowl halftime show, maybe it wasn't the Super Bowl halftime show for you. But for me, I thought it was one of the most brilliant performances of all time when you go into the collective. And it's one of those Super Bowl halftime shows that if you go back and watch it once, twice, 3 times, like you're picking up new things every time. For some people, they don't want to do that. They just want to be entertained. They want the razzmatazz of traditional Super Bowl halftime. Give them Left Shark and they will be of the most happy. Left Shark, never forget. For me, the mix of, oh my God, Kendrick Lamar is actually going to throw additional dirt on the grave of Drake on the Super Bowl stage, mixed with Kendrick Lamar is one of the most impressive artists existing currently. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner. If you don't want subtext in your Super Bowl halftime show, maybe don't have a Pulitzer Prize winner come and do it. And obviously the people who booked it had no issue with that, and that would be the expectation with Kendrick Lamar. But what I loved was all the over attention is on Not Like Us. Is he actually going to sing Not Like Us at the Super Bowl halftime show? Is he actually going to get up on that stage and say, Drake likes him young? And he did. And we found out he was going to do it. Like, it had been leaked that that song was on the set list. And you get the cheekiness of it. You get the little smirk as he says, say Drake. He goes into it by, I want to play your favorite song, but you know they love to sue. There's this will he, won't he element to the performance in its totality. And that look from him is just everything. Like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to do it in this moment. He has the chain with the lowercase a, which if you study music, a lowercase a would mean A minor. So shout out to the A minor. He brings in Serena Williams. That's his special guest. What was your response when you saw Serena Williams pop up in the middle of the halftime show with the Crip Walk?
I was like, it's Serena.
She's one of the greatest of all time.
I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Here
it's
goes
Drake's ex.
I didn't, I think we've lost the plot on Not Like Us. And so I'm kind of like,
yeah.
I'm out. So Serena pops up. It's like, Serena makes sense. Not Like Us. Okay, I got it. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell Drake said to make Serena mad. But again, this is lost in the Drake-ness of it all. Like, Not Like Us is a particularly Compton
right.
anthem. Right? Like, that's what it is. That music video is littered with Compton superstars. And Serena Williams is a Compton superstar. Sure, she's a legend in the game of tennis, and it's amazing to me. I left that performance thinking, oh my gosh, how does one city, part of a city, like how does one little thing give us so many true legends, is how I left that part of the Super Bowl halftime performance. She pops up, it's like, Serena, Crip walking, makes sense. Drake, like, bow out as gracefully as you can, which I think he has.
He has.
He's like, I don't want any more with Kendrick, but you record label, let me go get you.
It's loaded in context, and he's doing it all in the flared jeans. Big moment for flared jeans. As a fellow short queen who once upon a time wore a lot of flared jeans that were too long for my little legs, I felt that moment for Kendrick last night. But I think you bring up a good point in the oversaturation of Not Like Us. It's been everywhere, and everyone eats it up. But at some point, you're watching that halftime show, and you're like, okay, I came for Drake, but I'm here for Kendrick Lamar declaring this is the revolution. And my mom is older, not particularly familiar with the Drake-Kendrick beef, and she was like, I'm a little confused about everything. I'm like, do you want to watch the show? Have you not stayed tapped in with everything that happens? But I was trying to explain who Kendrick Lamar is to my mom, and the comparison that I ended up going to is he's kind of like our James Baldwin. Like, there is so much more to Kendrick than just being a rap hip hop artist. Like, the commentary that he was making on this country through that performance. And it did strike me how everybody just was clamoring for, I can't wait for Not Like Us. I can't wait for Not Like Us. And he's like flirting with, am I going to give it to him? And I'm going to give it to him. But mixed in all of that is the presentation from having Samuel L. Jackson there as Uncle Sam to Kendrick at the very beginning laying out the thesis of and the fact that we're talking about a thesis of a halftime show. I get why that makes some people tune out. But the thesis was the revolution will be televised. And it's a flip on the old 70s Gil Scott Heron, the revolution will not be televised. Kendrick flips that on its head. And it's kind of like a rallying of the community. And you have the divided pieces of the American flag coming together. And it's all black performers. And you're seeing this massive emphasis on black culture and black performances, and that's what Kendrick Lamar is. And then you bring in SZA, and the Uncle Sam character comes out of the SZA part, and like, yes, that's the palatable version, mixed with him calling the other version like too loud, too reckless, too word that I never feel comfortable saying.
You don't feel comfortable saying ghetto?
No.
Okay.
Again, because that's what people.
Because it's coded.
It's so coded, and
But would you
Samuel L.
feel- would you
Jackson in the
feel comfortable?
personification of America saying that word feels like a slur, really.
Would you feel comfortable if he had replaced it with urban?
No, that makes me
'Cause
uncomfortable
you
too.
could have done ghetto in that instance. What Uncle Sam has done is say, hey, you're too urban, too ghetto, too black,
Too H. Too hood.
too hood,
Would fit in there.
too inwardish.
Sure.
Right, like that's
all
what you.
All of those are perceived euphemisms
those are all
for that.
that thing right there, right? So we can't say, man, sure wish you
Yeah.
mass banded animals would stop behaving like N-words, but you can say, hey, you're being too urban. And bow, that's what we're talking
Right.
about, and we know we're talking about that thing there.
Even like him saying, like, Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? Tighten up. And this push-pull of what is acceptable, what is, again, I come back to the word like palatable for white people to consume, and talking about the culture and the use of culture, and white people take from black culture all the time. I just thought there's so much wrapped into that performance. And as a true nerd, I talk about it regularly, like, it does feel like a piece of literature that I look forward to going back and examining over and over and over again to find all of the different specific, because everything is specific with Kendrick Lamar. Every lyric change, the 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. A part of that is a dig at Drake, and a part of that is a dig at the world. Like, at some point, you're talking about Drake as a culture vulture and as a colonizer, and then it turns into wait, is this song about us? Like, is this just America?
And
that's the brilliance.
That is where we've lost it. That's where we've lost. And lost it would imply that we as a collective had it to begin with. And we as a collective did not have it to begin with. Drake is the personification of the pillaging of black culture, right? Like, he is the face of it right now because of the beef. But listen to what Kendrick says and then think to yourself, hey, how many times has an artist or an entertainer ran to Atlanta or Compton or Houston or Memphis or New Orleans, right? Ran to these predominantly black parts of our country for some sort of credibility, for some sort of validation that, hey, no, look at me, I'm cool. I kick it with, I'm just using this as an example. I'm cool. I wear Jordans. I kick it with Juicy J. I know how to twerk a little bit. Look at me. Pay me attention, right? Like, that's just one of many types of examples. And what ends up happening sometimes, I would say most times, that person uses that culture for a little bit, uses this part of the culture for a little bit, and then says, all right, I'm done with that. I'm going to grow my hair back out, and I'm going to go back to being a bluegrass country pop star. I'm going back to my pop princess roots, right? Like, that's what ends up happening, and that can be frustrating because, hey, cool, you're able to pick and choose what parts of this black culture you want to be a part of. Great. What about the rest of it? And what about the rest of us. You know, that's why Not Like Us is for Compton. Why it matters so much more than just the Drake piece of it. Because the answer to that question, hey, you're taking from us, what about us? Who's going to pull us up? Who's going to uplift us? Compton is going to uplift you, my child. Because we've got all of the Compton superstars in the music video. This dude, DeMar DeRozan, good friends with Drake. I called him up and said, come hop in the video, dissing Drake. Here he is, uplifting me. And I, as Kendrick Lamar, will uplift you all as well, Compton. Yeah. And in doing so, I would be sort of serve as a beacon, as a light to uplift black people around the country. If that's how deep you want to dive into it.
And then the hunger of white people to hear that song. I mean, you go into any bar.
It wasn't white people. It's all people to hear that.
Of course, all people. But then there's like the added nature of like this is the big number that they want me to do, right? Like this is the hit. This is the greatest hit, and then everything that comes around that hit. It's just so interesting. I really appreciated Kendrick Lamar's halftime show. If you didn't come in with any knowledge of Kendrick Lamar, I don't know if you enjoyed it. Like if you didn't know the Drake beef, you don't get that piece of it. If you don't know his discography, you don't get that piece of it. I did love him and SZA doing Luther, which feels like a commentary in of itself into all the stars, and SZA looked stunning. And yeah, I had a great time. It was exactly what I hoped for. I had hoped for there to be some sort of messaging. He is Kendrick Lamar. The president was at the Super Bowl for the first time in the history of ever. And Chris had to put me down all day. He was like, don't get your hopes up. And I was like, it's Kendrick Lamar. He'll do something. And he did it in a very effective way.
The Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt, live every weekday at 8 a.m.